You're listening to the 10-minute podcast challenge that will prove every place is the same. Welcome your host, the irreverent, the cosmopolitan, the wicked, Daniela Vlaskalic.
Hello, and welcome to Everyplace Is The Same. I am pleased to welcome my guest, Connor Thompson.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Welcome, Connor. Connor, you grew up near Owen Sound, Ontario.
That's right.
And you also spent some time in Copenhagen, Denmark.
That's correct, yeah.
Now, would you say that Owen Sound, Ontario and Copenhagen, Denmark are the same?
No, I would say they're pretty different.
Interesting. Well, today, on Every Place Is The Same, we're going to prove that Owen Sound, Ontario and Copenhagen, Denmark are the same.
Fair enough.
Tell me about growing up near Owen Sound, the city. What's it like? Feel like?
Owen Sound is a beautiful little town nestled in a valley on Georgian Bay. It's about 20,000 people, and it is lovely. It's kind of the biggest town in the region. Growing up, it was the city, even though it was only 20,000 people. So, as I said, I grew up a little outside of Owen Sound, but if you wanted to go to the movies, for example, that's where you went. And it's got a very small town vibe, but, big city amenities like stoplights.
Copenhagen, Denmark.
Well, Copenhagen is a beautiful city in Denmark. It's the capital. And I was there recently to spend a little time. And it is a cosmopolitan, sprawling European city. Lots of funky people, interesting buildings, and rich with history.
On the water?
Yes.
What water?
I believe it's on the strait between Sweden and Denmark. I don't know the name of that particular body of water. Maybe the North Sea, technically.
And there's a bridge connecting them, isn't there?
Yes, there's a bridge that goes from Copenhagen to Malmö, Sweden.
Owen Sound, Ontario. Considered one of the best places to retire.
I would believe that. There is a large geriatric population in Owen Sound.
Copenhagen, Denmark. Happiest city in the world.
I believe that. It's a very pretty, beautiful place, clean and neat, and everyone's very friendly.
Would you say retired people are happy people?
You'd like to think that, but I know some retired people who are not happy because they've lost their purpose. My dad, for example, just retired, and he is not unhappy, but he misses his work and, has to, I think, find ways to find a purpose.
Maybe they should visit Copenhagen.
Maybe they should.
Do you think retired people in Copenhagen are happy?
I think if that's the happiest place in the world, then yes, everyone would be happy.
Were you happy there?
In Copenhagen? Absolutely, yeah. I was there to teach and perform at an improv festival, and I was very happy to do that.
Owen Sound, otherwise known as Little Liverpool, Corkscrew City, Chicago of the North. Explain.
Well, it's interesting that it has all those nicknames. First of all, I'm pretty sure if it's farther north than Chicago, it's not actually very much farther north than Chicago. That's very funny. But in the late kind of 19th century and early 20th century, Owen Sound had grand designs on being kind of Canada's Chicago, kind of a Midwest city that would expand. They were hoping to kind of grow like that, and they never did. Liverpool, I've never heard that connection before, but it makes sense. I mean, I think of Liverpool as being the home of the Beatles, being kind of a fun northern British city, and I played in a band.
What's your favorite Beatle?
Probably Ringo.
You played in a band. What did you play?
I played the drums, hence the favorite Beatle.
Corkscrew City?
Yeah, I would say, people drink wine. And you can get turned around there a lot, I guess. You can get lost in Owen Sound, like a corpse.
Have you ever been lost in Owen Sound?
Sure, yeah.
It was once well known for brothels and taverns.
That's right. There's a place called Damnation Corners, which used to be a kind of an intersection where there were 4 different bars on it. And there's also a place called Salvation Corners just down the street where there are 4 churches.
Bucket of blood.
Never had that or been there or would choose to carry one, but I like where your head's at.
Famous pub, one time on Damnation Corner.
There you go.
Are you a good corkscrewer?
I'm not bad at opening wine. Yeah, I can do that pretty cleanly usually. I don't usually get any cork in the bottle.
Do you like fairy tales?
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
Probably Jack the Giant Slayer.
Have you ever heard of Hans Christian Andersen?
Absolutely. Very famous Danish writer.
From Copenhagen.
Mm-hmm.
Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales are kind of sad.
Yes, they are, for sure. And sometimes bad things happen to the people in them.
But Copenhagen is the happiest city in the world.
Maybe that's a compensation for Hans Christian Andersen's oeuvre.
Do you know any Owens?
Yeah, my brother's name is Owen.
Do you know any Hagens?
Hagens? No, I don't know any Hagen. Other than Haagen-Dazs. No, I don't know any Hagens. Just the ice cream.
Uda Hagen?
Uda Hagen, there you go, of course. Right, famous Uda Hagen.
Did you know that the harbor in Copenhagen is clean enough to swim in?
That's amazing. But I believe it. I mean, the Danes, honestly, they got their ducks in a row.
Could you swim in Georgian Bay?
Absolutely, you could.
Whether you were in Owen Sound or in Copenhagen, if you wanted to just dive right in, you could go ahead and do that.
You sure could.
Billy Bishop.
Maybe Owen Sound's most famous citizen, World War I ace, and born in Owen Sound. There's a Billy Bishop museum not far from where my parents currently live in Owen Sound, where my brother, Owen, once worked.
Any museums in Copenhagen?
Many museums in Copenhagen.
Do you have a favorite one?
The one that I liked the most was the Rosenborg Palace, which was the pleasure palace of Danish kings of kind of the Renaissance era. A lot of fun rooms, gardens, that sort of thing.
Billy Bishop, an important military figure for Canada. Military figures in Copenhagen?
Well, Denmark is famous for it, being Viking for a long time, right? They originated from Scandinavia. So the Danes were all over the place, all over Europe for a while there back in the Middle Ages.
Very influential.
Absolutely.
What are Owens like?
Owens, I would say, well, most Owens, I think, are Welsh. It's a Welsh name. So what you're really asking is, what are the Welsh like? And I think they're pretty cheerful, but also probably pretty damp.
Would you say that about your brother?
Cheerful and damp? Yeah.
There are 15 Michelin star restaurants in Copenhagen.
That's right.
Did you go to any?
No, we made a joke of trying to get a reservation at one, but there's like a 3-year waiting period at this one place. So we did not go. Mostly I ate shawarma.
Some would say that shawarma is the Michelin star of meats.
I would definitely say that.
Could you get a shawarma in Owen Sound?
I think there's like one Middle Eastern takeout place, yeah.
Now, Copenhagen has experienced plague,
Sure.
fires, pirates, Nazis, Owen Sound.
Owen Sound has experienced fires. It's also experienced snow, a lot of snow, lake effect snow.
Like a plague.
Much a plague of snow. You could say a plague of snow for sure. It's experienced floods, there's rivers, and it's on the lake. So I would say Owen Sound's disaster history, stacks up.
What's it sound like?
It's very peaceful. In fact, you can kind of hear a train horn going by right now as we record this, and there is it's a ferry terminus as well for the Chichimon, which usually sails from Tobermory to Manitoulin Island. Its winter base is Owen Sound, and it blows its horn, much like the horn we hear just now. It blows its horn every day at 5 o'clock.
What does Copenhagen sound like?
Danish. It sounds so Danish. But I'll say this, most Danes speak English, so if you're a tourist there, it's very helpful.
The Tivoli Gardens inspired Walt Disney to create Disney World.
Yeah. Tivoli Gardens is a beautiful Hans Christian Andersen themed amusement park. And I went there when I was in Denmark with some friends. In fact, the local guy who was kind of hosting us came, and he went on all the rides, and he got sick, and he had to leave.
Are there rides in Owen Sound?
One of my favorite childhood memories is going to the Owen Sound Fall Fair. Again, it's like the big city. So we went to the big fair in Owen Sound. You could ride all the rides, the Gravitron. So sometimes there are fun rides. Otherwise, it's in a valley, so there's a lot of steep hills. So if you think riding a bike down a hill is a ride, you can do that a lot too.
Did you have a Danish in Denmark?
I'm ashamed to say I didn't. And what's interesting is, of course, they don't call them Danishes in Denmark. They just call them us.
Did you have any pastries?
I think I had a muffin.
Could you find a muffin in Owen Sound?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, yeah, you could find a muffin in Owen Sound.
Do you have a favorite muffin?
Blueberry. Always blueberry.
What do you love about Owen Sound?
I love actually that it's a beautiful place and the area is really lovely, and it's becoming more popular, but it's not really a big destination yet.
Copenhagen.
Just how much money you can go through. No, what I love about it is the beauty and the history and the architecture. It's a classic kind of European city with like narrow streets and kind of those.
Could you get lost in Copenhagen?
Oh, easily, yeah. A lot of winding streets.
So you personally could get lost in Owen Sound or in Copenhagen?
That's correct, yeah.
Connor, I want to thank you for helping us prove that Owen Sound, Ontario and Copenhagen in Denmark are the same.
I'm amazed to see how you've done that.
Whether you're looking for a great place to go for a swim, if you love rides, gardens, or just need a really good muffin, I think that, Connor, you have helped us prove that Owen Sound, Ontario and Copenhagen, Denmark are in fact the same.
Amazing. I'm truly amazed.
You just listened to Every Place Is The Same, hosted by Daniela Vlaskalic and produced by Drumcast Productions. For more content and to help keep this podcast ad-free, visit our Patreon account. That's patreon.com/everyplaceisthesame. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Twitter or Stitcher, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Everyplace Is The Same. Until the next time, enjoy your travels.